What's up, everyone? Buckle up because we are just weeks out from spot XRP ETFs getting that official stamp of approval. Seriously, years we've been camping out waiting for this thing to drop. Things are heating up fast. All these big-name institutions preparing to launch these products are now flooding us with announcements and insider details. The buzz is absolutely insane right now. Here's what I've got for you today. I pulled together this massive pile of brand spanking new intel that I'm dying to share and unpack with you. Trust me, once you're done watching, you'll have laser-focused clarity on everything that's about to unfold here. So why wait around? Let's jump headfirst right into the good stuff. All right, this nugget right here is courtesy of CNBC covering the ETF market. Listen to this.
You've got XRP and a couple other ETFs coming through, also in kind of what we would call the more established token space. How about this pent-up demand, though, giving people other opportunities? How would you recommend? Because it's clear to me you're seeing institutional demand that, as you said, isn't just yesterday. It's 5 to 10 years in the making. But outside of call it the crypto ETFs, where would you recommend investors? Because a lot of our investors at home, they may own some Coinbase, they may own some Robinhood, they may own some Supermicro. I mean, like different places where they're trying to get their exposure. But I think we'd like to hear from you.
Well, so recently there's been this big boom in a new set of companies called digital asset treasuries, or DATs. It's an area that we as a firm really helped kickstart earlier this year and have leaned into. These are companies that are following what MicroStrategy has done by accumulating capital or accumulating Bitcoin or other tokens on their balance sheet and really trying to increase the amount of tokens per share you own. We recently launched our own digital asset treasury called Solana Company, ticker HSDT. And when people think about digital asset treasuries versus ETFs, like why would I own a Bitcoin in a box, if you will, if I could just own a passive ETF? And it really comes down to active management versus passive. DATs, or digital asset treasuries, are all about giving you active management, whereas ETFs, they're great for a lot of people, they're passive. And as we can see, there is a way to add a lot of value through active management, whether that's through marketing the token, advocacy, capital market strategies, or just simply buying and selling more intelligently than passively. And I believe over time that some of these digital asset treasuries, like HSDT, can really outperform the underlying token if they execute well.
Okay, so here's where things get really interesting. We've actually got multiple storylines unfolding at the same time here. Number one, ETF demand. We're seeing institutional giants salivating over these spot XRP products like never before. But wait, there's more. Number two, the DAT scene, the treasury market angle that's rapidly picking up steam. And remember Evernorth? Yeah, they basically walked in like a boss, flexing with well over $1 billion in XRP, pretty much setting the bar for everyone else. Now here's where my brain starts spinning. Countless other companies and major institutions are circling this opportunity, contemplating whether to dive into a DAT play using XRP, Solana, you name it. My gut tells me the Fortune 500, heck, even the Fortune 1000 companies are going to start making moves. Oh, and don't even get me started on financial institutions and traditional banks. They're absolutely scoping this out behind closed doors. Picture this. 5 to 10 years down the road, the sheer volume of mainstream adoption coming through all these various channels, we're talking about absolutely explosive growth. But what really blows my mind? There are probably innovative products brewing right now that we can't even fathom yet. Products that'll drop in the coming years and change everything. That's the electric part about being in this space. The bottom line is we're unlocking incredible new doors for growing our wealth. Just remember, be smart about it. Lean on the expertise of your financial advisor. Flying solo without one? Time to change that, my friend. All right, here we go. Bitwise President Teddy Ferrasso breaks down upcoming Bitwise XRP ETF, hinting at launch and approval soon. Listen to this one.
If the government reopens, do you expect, from your own XRP, and I don't know how much you can say on this, honestly, but from your own applications, do you expect, the SEC to, maybe launch those or approve those rather quickly, or is there still work to be done on the XRP ETF specifically?
Yeah, so it's a great question, Ellie. The honest answer is that I don't know. And the second part of the honest answer is that I because it's a registration statement that is not effective for the Bitwise XRP ETF, I need to be super cautious about what I do say, but I can say a few things. And what I can say is that when you want to avail yourself of this, what I will call the auto effective clause that allows the registration statement to automatically go effective, you're not just going alone. You as a registrant, you need to have a listing exchange that is willing to list the product. And so in the case of the Bitwise Solana staking ETF BSOL, that was the New York Stock Exchange. As you showed the pictures, we had the great event yesterday. The listing exchange needs to be comfortable that all of the disclosure requirements have been met, that the registrant and the registrant's outside counsel are comfortable that all of the requirements have been met. Another great picture. Look at Toli, he's so excited. Each of these issuers has an auditor, required to have an auditor, and the auditor needs to sign off on this. There needs to be authorized participants. There need to be market makers. There need to be liquidity providers. So it's sort of like this whole ecosystem of others that need to be comfortable that the registration statement going effective in this manner.
When Bitwise is launching these products, they're basically walking on eggshells with everything they communicate. Why? Because one wrong sentence from them could send the entire market into a frenzy. And yeah, avoiding that chaos is pretty much their number one priority. There's a whole rule book of regulations and legal boundaries dictating what's fair game to discuss and what's totally off limits. So what he's actually doing right now is peeling back the curtain for us, showing us the blueprint of what infrastructure has to exist, which major players need to be involved in this whole operation, you know? You brought up the New York Stock Exchange. There's got to be someone handling the listing, an auditor keeping everything transparent, plus all these other critical parties in the mix. This really opens our eyes to the sheer scale of it all, like the number of people involved, the countless components that have to align perfectly to make this thing actually happen. And look, I'm genuinely hoping this cleared up some confusion for you. Real talk? I walked away learning some pretty valuable stuff myself here. James Safart dropped this gem. Bitwise Invest and VanEck joined crew of issuers filing potentially to launch crypto products next month in November. Earlier, we had Fidelity and Canary funds file Solana in this way. Also had Canary file for XRP. Will be interesting to see how all of this plays out. All right, so there's actually a ton of other developments happening that I really want to walk you through right now. You've got these updates coming in hot, and honestly, by the end of this, you're going to be completely caught up on everything. Spot XRP ETFs are on the verge of launching in the US, with a landscape evolving rapidly in the past week. The most critical updates is the Canary Capital and Bitwise have both filed updated S1 documents removing the SEC's delaying amendment, which means their spot XRP ETFs could become automatically effective mid-November, potentially as early as November 13th, unless the NTSEC intervenes. So here's what it boils down to. The only scenario where this gets shut down is if the SEC deliberately steps in and blocks it. And here's where I'm going to share my personal take on this whole situation. I genuinely believe Paul Atkins, the SEC commissioner, doesn't want the backlash that would come from rejecting this thing. You know what I mean? Okay, so picture this scenario for a second. We've already got Bitcoin and Ethereum products cruising along, no problem there. Then boom, here comes HBAR and Litecoin getting the green light, right? They're waltzing right through approval. But then, wait for it, XRP gets the full stop sign treatment. Like seriously, how does that even make sense? You can't tell me that's what a free and open market looks like. It's basically like saying, hey, we're going to block one of the absolute giants in crypto. And retail investors are actually more into XRP than Solana these days. Wild, right? So here's my honest take. I just can't see them painting themselves into that corner. No way. My gut's telling me we're heading toward approval city with these products. And check this out. Looks like swell's happening on the 4th and 5th, which has me pretty pumped. Now imagine the timing on this. Picture a wave of major announcements coming out of Swell, and then bam, right on the heels of that, we get those ETF approvals landing. Doesn't that just feel like the stars are aligning? Like seriously, we might be witnessing something special here. All right, your turn. I'm dying to know what you're thinking, so hit me up in the comments down below. What's your angle on this whole situation? Let's talk. Canary Capitals is targeted on November 13th launch, pending final NASDAQ approval. In the 8-A filing, Bitwise, which leads its flows on crypto spot ETFs, could go live soon after utilizing a similar auto-effective strategy. The removal of delaying amendment means it has a 20-day window after recent filings, October 24th and 25th, after making mid-November a realistic expectation. Several different U.S. spot XRP applications are currently pending, with a final batch of SEC decisions between the 18th and November 14th, as XRP now meets the 6-month regulated futures trading prerequisite and traded futures on Coinbase derivatives. All right, so let me break this down for you guys. Basically, you need a really healthy operational futures market humming along for 6 whole months before regulators will give these automatic spot ETFs the thumbs up. And hey, we've just hit that benchmark. Pretty wild timing, right? I'm telling you, things are about to get super interesting from here. But hold on. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Stephen McClurg, the big boss at Canary Capital, just dropped this jaw-dropping prediction. He's saying we might see a whopping $5 billion pouring into spot XRP products in just the first month alone. Like 30 days. Can you imagine that kind of money moving that fast? Is he being realistic, or is this wishful thinking? All right, folks, buckle up because this might just flip everything on its head for every single one of us. Look, I think we can all agree we want to see demand go through the roof here. But here's the thing. The markets have been acting kind of wonky lately, so honestly, your guess is as good as mine on how this whole thing's going to shake out. Now, it does talk about Rex Osprey has launched a spot XRP product on the CBOE, but this initial offering is a hybrid fund with the majority held in XRP and some XRP-backed products. And listen, the numbers we've been pulling, we're talking millions upon millions of eyeballs on this stuff throughout October. Absolutely insane engagement. So then Paul Barron drops this bomb and says, XRP plot twist. Is this what Brad Garlinghouse was looking for all along? Every major bank is racing to launch its own stablecoin while Swift pitches neutral rails. The reality? JP Morgan, Bank of America, Citi, Wells, U.S. Consortium, Stablecoin, ING, Deutsche Bank, Unicredit, and 6 others. Euro stablecoin by 2026. Bank of America CEO. We are ready to launch once regs clear. Banks don't want neutral infrastructure. They want control. But here's the kicker. More proprietary systems equals more fragmentation. JPM coin, Bank of America coin, Eurobank coin. Who bridges the walled gardens? You know what? This is basically a snapshot of the hot mess we're stuck with in today's financial world. Every single institution is running their own isolated setup. Zero communication between them. Literally none. And guess what that means? Moving your money internationally feels like watching paint dry. We're talking multiple days here, people. Now imagine this. If we're just going to copy-paste these same old isolated fortress systems, what's the point? How do we actually evolve? How do we build these next-generation platforms without some kind of universal connector that links every single one of these stablecoins together? Well, plot twist, that's exactly the role Ripple and XRP are designed to play. And here's what blows my mind. So many people are sleeping on this. This is genuinely the secret sauce to connecting our entire planet financially, right? There is absolutely nothing superior. You won't find a more liquid, more dynamic asset ecosystem anywhere on Earth than what the XRP ledger brings to the table for stablecoins and their massive expansion ahead. Mark my words, I think we're going to witness this thing skyrocket throughout the next several months. Oh, and here's a cherry on top. You also have Charles Hoskinson giving props to the XRP community. Let me just cue this up and show you what I'm talking about. Listen to this one.
Okay, the XRP community didn't get to say, God, if only the SEC was a little nicer to us over the last 5 years. They had to deal with it as an ecosystem, and they spent hundreds of millions of dollars, and they took the worst of all of it for all of us, with the possible exception of Binance and a few others. Holy moly. And now we're on the other side. And we're working hard. We survived. The industry survived. We're still in the game.
So I also stumbled upon something else that I think could really add to the conversation we're having right now. Let me just pull this up for you. NASDAQ head of North America markets, Kevin Kennedy, explains why transitioning to extended hours is a top priority. This literally connects all the dots with what we've been breaking down here today in this video. Listen to this.
I will tell you, the most important thing for me is extended hours. We're open for 16 hours a day today, and for years, no one kind of really noticed. You notice on earnings day, like after 4 o'clock, you'll see something trade till about 5, and then a little bit, in the morning, but that's changed. Again, another inflection point, and we need to be open 24. So the first step, and we announced this a while back, is that we want to get to 23.5, 23.6, depending on what days you want to count. But Sunday evening until Friday afternoon. And then once we get to that 23.6, I think we'll get to 24/7 pretty quickly, because if you really want to compete in that digital asset space, you need to be open 24/7. But again, it goes back to sort of, I won't even say crawling. This is like jogging before we run, right? So we want to start jogging. We've been walking for quite some time at 20 hours a day.
Okay, so check this out. The people sitting at the top of America's massive financial systems, they're literally chomping at the bit to jump into this digital revolution where money never sleeps. We're talking 24/7, every single day, no weekends, no holidays. And guess what the golden ticket is? Blockchain and DLT, baby. That's the secret sauce that's going to unlock all this value. Here's where my head's at. We really need to snap out of this hamster wheel mentality where everyone's obsessing over price tags. Like, is it 250? Is it 240? Is it 260 inches? About XRP. Who cares right now? What we should be laser focused on is getting institutions to actually put this stuff to work. Because when does that happen? The demand is going to explode like crazy. That's the big picture, folks. That's the destination we're racing toward. And look, I'm right there with you, waiting for it. Everything happening around us right now, super exciting, no doubt. We're literally watching history write itself in real time. Seeing the tech mature, watching these financial giants slowly get on board, it's incredible. But what really gets me fired up is waiting for that sweet spot, that tipping point where everybody's using this stuff. Mass adoption. That's my North Star. All right, my friends, I'm wrapping this up right here. Go out there and crush your weekend. Really appreciate you tuning in and vibing with me today. Want to make sure you never miss a beat? You're in exactly the right place. I've got your back. I'll keep you plugged into absolutely everything going down. See you in the next video.